What is going on, my salty home gymmers? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be talking about the Major Fitness Drone 2 Cable Smith Machine Rack. Now, I've said this before, and you can quote me. Your first purchase for putting together a home gym should be a 4-post rack. And if you have the wallet for it, a 4-post cable rack. Because there are so many avenues for exercise in these machines. And guess what? Your dollar's going a whole lot further now, because chances are you might have the wallet for a 4-post cable Smith machine. Now, speaking of wallets, you're gonna hear me use the term budget cable rack a lot today, because that is the arena that we're in today, and Major Fitness has just brought a monster contender into that arena with a standard price of $8.99, which is constantly going on sale for less. And with this price compared to its competitors, it's hard to argue if this isn't one of the best, or quite possibly the best cable racks for your dollar. But before we get to all that, let's get to the assembly. My package arrived on time with 0 shipping issues, and let me tell you, these packages weighed a ton. But even though it might not seem like it at the time, that's a great thing, because that means you're getting some durable equipment. I gotta say, the worst part about having your gym in your basement compared to the garage is having to lug all that heavy equipment down there. Unfortunately, all the dirt from shipping ruined my My Chemical Romance t-shirt. But once the job was done and I got it all down there and I cut it open, I could just smell the new gym equipment. There's nothing like it. And I gotta say, once I took it out of the box, I was actually very impressed. For a rack that advertises 16 gauge steel, felt a whole lot better than a lot of other racks I've handled that advertise these same specs. Now, I'm gonna just say this. Go ahead and get yourself a drill. If you don't have a drill, borrow your neighbor's drill. There's a lot of bolts on this thing. Luckily, they're all the same size, which made it pretty easy. And all the pieces fit together flawlessly. Everything was right in line where it should be, but it was a little time consuming. I like to have my TV on in the background, just for something playing in the background while I'm doing stuff. This rack took me approximately 3.5 Marvel movies to put together. Now, it's very important as you're putting together this rack, you want to tighten a little less than half of your bolts until the end. Leave a lot of those bolts loose so it has room to flex. Most of the pulleys came already pretty tight from the box, so if you have to retighten any of them, make sure it's hand tight and not with the drill. Make sure you have a good spin on there before you function test it. The height of this rack is 84.4 inches. The width of this rack is 62.5 inches. And the depth of this rack is 85.2 inches. I don't know if it's the way it's built, or maybe these extra posts here in the Smith machine might have added a little more stability, but compared to a lot of other budget racks, this thing just felt super tight. And now that we got it all set up and out of the box, let's talk about the rack itself. Your posts are 2-inch posts, and it comes with a static load capacity of 1,100 pounds. And it's good to see these realistic stats from a brand. We've talked about this before. A lot of companies out there are just really hammering those fluff stats. I think 1,100 pounds is a really good ballpark, and really what I feel this rack can hold. And look, these 2-inch racks are great. There's so many third-party manufacturers out there that are making parts for these racks and expand what you can do with these 2-inch racks. The attachments are becoming endless for these things. I just like to say, cable racks that cost this much don't feel this sturdy. Major props to Major Fitness for this frame and putting it out there for a reasonable price. Now, your pull-up bar is pretty standard stuff. You got one wide grip with these nice little grips on there. You have your standard and your close grips. Now, your cable system here is fully adjustable with 19 points of adjustment. Now, this rack is plate loaded with 2 separate mounting points for your weight. It doesn't converge in the middle. It operates on 2 separate functions, which makes this machine just feel so much smoother. And it actually allows you to do more exercises this way, because a lot of those ones that converge in the back and the middle limit your cable range. And I gotta tell you, this cable system is impressively smooth. One more thing I just want to mention, this cable system operates on a 1:1 ratio. With a 1:1 ratio, you feel all the weight you put on this rack, which surprisingly in most cable machines I don't really prefer, but in this one, this is the smoothest feeling 1:1 ratio I've felt on one of these cable racks. Now, let's talk about your Smith machine on this rack. Honestly, your Smith machine for this price is kind of like a bonus, because honestly, the price of this rack is what most budget cable racks cost without the Smith machine. And honestly, like I said before, I think the Smith machine is giving you some added stability, some added structural integrity in this rack, having that extra post here. It's a 750-pound weight capacity Smith machine. It should be noted though that this Smith machine is not counterbalanced. So back to those ratios before, this is a 1:1 ratio where you're gonna feel 100% of the weight you put on this, including what appears to be a 45, 50-ish pound bar. It's really surprising to see the Smith machine come back around. And what I mean by that is, years ago there used to be this big indifference with people about the Smith machine. But now that we were all stuck at home for a bit there for a while, and the home gym craze kind of took off, a lot of people are finding a lot of use for the Smith machine. And one of those reasons is because when you're working out by yourself, with a Smith machine, you always have a spot. And it's also great for keeping those movements in line. It's a lot less hazardous to work out by yourself with a Smith machine. So the Smith machine is definitely coming back in a major way. Now I'm gonna talk to you about what I like to call fun extras. And that's all the extra stuff that you're getting outside of the basic functions of this rack. This rack comes with a ton of them. First thing I'm gonna talk to you about is this foot bar. You can do your lat pull downs and your rows and whatever else you can come up with down there. Another thing I'm gonna talk about is this landmine. And if you're not familiar with what a landmine is, put your barbell in there, opens up a whole new world for those deadlifts, those squats, those rows, those shoulder presses, whatever other exercise that you can come up with this attachment. Having a landmine here at the front of the rack that's easily accessible is a great addition because it just opens up a whole new machine at the front of your rack. Another thing I'm gonna talk to you about is this rack's options for bands down at the bottom here. Great for those low impact resistance exercises. You can use them on the Smith machine or on your bench press or whatever else you can come up with them. Now, if you ordered the standard rack only package, you're still gonna receive a ton of attachments and extras. Some of the attachments you receive in these budget home gym racks aren't necessarily throwaway, but they're not very well made, and you pretty much just use them until you get better attachments. Not the case here with most of these attachments. Most of these guys are surprisingly well made. And then you have others which are, you know, they're okay. But listen, if I'm the person that's purchasing this rack, that it's my first purchase in a home gym, which most people are, if I receive a weightlifting belt for free in a package and I don't have one at home, heck yeah, I'm gonna use this. So let me run down your attachments real quick. You have your weightlifting belt, your lat pull down bar, tricep ropes, a curl bar, your handles for those landmine rows, neck and shoulder pad for those squats, lifting straps, which allow you to get that good grip, and of course, these handles for infinite amount of things, most of which can be stored right back here on these hooks, so you don't have to worry about that storage space. It's always nice to see that on racks. Also included in your standard package is these dip bars. They go on the side of your rack. Also included in your front mounting attachments are these spotter arms. There's an awesome video where they drop 420 pounds of weight on these spotter arms. It's super impressive. Also included, of course, in your front mounting attachments is these J-hooks for your bench press, for your squat. Now, all this is your standard package. Major Fitness is advertising a package with a bench press and 230 pounds of weight. I wasn't expecting much from the bench. I'm impressed again. This is actually a pretty heavy duty bench, and it's comfortable as well. It's a pretty safe bet for a bench. Also great to have bumper plates. They're easy on your floor. Definitely think that's a pretty decent deal as well, getting that whole package. But I gotta talk about just a few minuscule things that I just wasn't fond of. The first thing is this banner. Just a thin metal plate would have done a lot better job. I put some tape on the back of it, and you can do the same thing yourself. It was just a little too long. Just kind of looked saggy when I had it up there before. And the other small thing I'm gonna talk about is these plate horns. Great to have that storage. These plate horns, though, actually mount to the back. And if you're like me, I like to have my rack backed against that wall. There is an option, I noticed when I was putting the rack together, to mount these on the side. But then I went to use the cable machine, and you can't fit plates on the outside of this cable machine if you have plates mounted on the outside of the plate horns. If you're okay with them being on the back, I suppose that's not a big headache. And like I said, these aren't really big deals. Every machine for this price now has to live up to this. So today we're gonna give this rack a 4.8 stars, and that is because it is just an unbeatable price.